Welcome back. The year was 1983. No internet, no social media, no Google Maps, and a family embarked on a transformational bicycle journey across the United States. John Gronski from Lebanon joins us for an author spotlight this morning, and he's written a really fascinating book about his family's trip across America. It's called The Ride of Our Lives: Lessons on Life, Leadership, and Love. John, thanks so much for coming on the program.
Great to be here with you.
Listen, we were just talking during the break, you were talking with your sons about this trip, and they said maybe you should write a book, and so you did.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, but before taking the journey itself and talking about it, why did you and your family even want to go on this trip in the first place?
Yeah, I mean, 1976, I was 20 years old, and I started to hear stories about people biking across the United States, and I was just captivated by the adventure of it all, using human power to go, from one coast to the other. So I shared that dream with my wife, Bertie, once we got married, and she was all about it.
And she came along for the ride, right?
Yeah.
You brought your son with you, who was just 15 months old at the time. Talk about that experience, because I have two young kids at home. I'm not sure I would be ambitious enough to do this.
Yeah.
But you were. What was that like?
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool. I mean, this is actually the trailer that I pulled Stephen across the country with.
There it is.
This is the trailer,
Still intact,
yeah,
by the way.
38 years later.
Uh-huh.
And it was just wonderful, to bike across the United States with one's family. It came with special rewards, because we spent that time together as a family. But I'll have to admit, it came with special challenges, pulling a 15-month-old across the United States.
Yeah, I bet it did. And he doesn't remember this, you said, but he's asking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Stephen, again, he was 15 months old when we began the trip, 18 months old when we finished the trip, so he doesn't remember anything about the trip, but he's read the book.
Nice.
And actually, him and his brother Timothy, who wasn't even born yet, started to ask me questions this past summer about the bicycle trip. And that's what encouraged me to write the book.
That is really cool. So where did you stop on this journey? Where did you sleep? Things like that. How did it work?
Yeah, well, we stopped and slept in campgrounds when we could. We had a two-man backpacking tent, 2 sleeping bags. So it was campgrounds, and we couldn't find a campground. And you'll see it in the book, a variety of places: farmers' fields, town parks, behind churches, behind schools, even 3 fraternity houses during the course of the 3-month adventure.
Oh my goodness. So when people read this book, what do you hope they learn from it? What do you hope they gain from it?
Well, I'd like to share the life and leadership lessons that I learned on the trip that made a lasting impact on my leadership philosophy over the following decades, as an Army officer, as a combat veteran, and as a business leader. So that's what I'd like people to gain, are those lessons that I'm sharing through the book.
And I'm sure, too, something else we could all use a little more of in this day and age with the internet and social media and everything else, just some good old-fashioned time with family, too, right? It's
very important. And I learned, through the course of my life as a Army officer, that even with deployments, you've got to take advantage of the time you have together.
Yeah.
And anything you do to find time with the family is extremely important.
No doubt, and you can unlock so much of that and more in the book, The Ride of Our Lives. How do we get this, Jim?
Yeah, you get the book on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You can go to my website to learn a little bit more about the book at JohnGronski.com. But those 2 websites I mentioned, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, are probably the best 2 to get the book.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Brett, thank you.
Absolutely. Stay with us. We're coming back after this.